Welcome to the Inspiring Heights podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Kaiser, and I am so excited to be here with you today. Inspiring Heights exists to walk alongside you as we learn to create healthy rhythms, flourish in our faith, and be inspired where our feet are. We're honored that you're with us today. We can't wait. Let's get started. Episode 16 is all about gearing up for fall, autumn, harvest season, the most beautiful time of the year. I'm going to just take a second to say out loud, I know some of you are plugging your ears and shaking your heads and stomping your feet at me, thinking it is not fall. Here's the deal. Technically, you are correct. The calendar says fall doesn't start for like 31 more days or something. But sister, let's be real. Fall starts in my heart the very moment the calendar turns from July to August. Hello, school supplies, pumpkin spice, and glorious blissful cardigans. Oh, how I have missed you. Fall is legit probably my most favorite season, with winter being nearly tied. I love this transition into what can feel like a cozy hug. The slower days, the cooler nights, the beautiful colors. It's just the best. Do I have you convinced yet? It's interesting to consider how fall affects people differently. People who are educators or who have children in school, I think, can feel that fall transition in a much more definitive way. School starts on August 25th. Boom. Summer over, right? But as someone who isn't an educator, nor am I married to an educator, nor do we have any children, fall can maybe feel a little bit more fluid. Like I get to choose when fall starts because aside from the day on the calendar that says autumn begins, or the day that Starbucks releases pumpkin spice, there isn't a hard stop to summer and beginning to fall. For some people, this blended transition from summer to fall is a dream. I can choose to set out my orange pumpkins today and go water skiing tomorrow. There's this open ability to bounce back and forth from one season to another for quite a while if you want. For others, perhaps my more type A friends, that fuzzy transition is downright annoying. Is it pumpkin season or swimming suit season? Seriously, can we just make a choice? And much like moving from spring into summer, the summer into fall transition is smoother with intentionality. I sometimes think when we use the word intentionality, we think it means structure, but that's not true. Intentionality just means that you do things on purpose for a purpose. So in this instance, intentionality can be keeping those lines blurry between the two seasons until the snow flies if you want, or it can be a bit more structured and calculated in the change. Today I want to talk about two specific areas of our lives related to the transition of seasons, our home lives and our rhythms. Even if you don't decorate your home for any season other than Christmas, have you ever noticed that there's this distinct difference in the feel of our homes between summer and fall? And it's everything from the throws on the couch to the scents in the diffuser. So if we were to consider how to be intentional in our homes during the transition from summer to fall, we first have to think, what does my home look like during the summer season? And what does it look like during the fall season? An easy way to break this down is by our senses. What does my home smell, taste, look, and feel like, both in the summer and in the fall? Here's some examples. In the summer, my home often smells like citrusy, minty, flowery, summer light scents. In the fall, it smells like cinnamon, almost all of the time. When I think about taste, I think about like fruity Crystal Light with frozen fruit as ice in the summer. And I think about warm apple cider with cinnamon sticks in the fall. In the summer, our home is bright and sunny. The shades are often open and the sun is shining in and everything is just bright. Bright blankets on the couch, bright lights from outside, cheery napkins with cows on them. But in the fall, things get cozier. The lights are softer. They're not as bright. It gets dark earlier, so the lamps go on sooner. Maybe the blankets go from hot pink to clay. And honestly, all of those things lead to how our home feels. So often, summer feels fun and energetic and lively. And fall tends to feel slower and warmer. Not in temperature, though, because I am a 63 degrees all year round kind of girl. So the next question is, what do I want to do on purpose to make this transition? Here's some things you can ask yourself to help explore this. Do you have a date and time in mind? Is there a certain time that begins to feel more like fall? Is it September 1st or the first day of school or when pumpkin spice does actually drop? I know. What can I say? I love pumpkins. Having a date to make the transition can help you know how and when to start preparing. And then a follow-up to that question is, are you a clean break kind of person or an intermixed transition type? Is this like the calendar flips and so does our home? Or pumpkin spice latte for breakfast and iced lemon zinger tea for lunch kind of situation? 3. What matters about this transition to you? Is it the end result or the progress? And this isn't a it's about the climb kind of statement either. I'm just asking, what matters to you? Sure, definitely enjoy the moment every day. Some of my type B friends sway happily into fall, while my type A friends want to put it on ink in their calendar and make it happen. Which is it for you? That will help the transition to go smoother. Last question. What can you do right now to help you make the transition what you want it to be when you're ready? Maybe you need to order the cinnamon oil for your diffuser, or get the fall blocks of blankets out of the attic and run them through the wash. It doesn't have to be extensive, not by any stretch of the imagination. Just think about, what can I do now to help me get ready for the transition? The second area of transition I want to talk about is rhythms. When summertime started, we talked about how our rhythms in the summer are just different. We go to bed later, we spend more time outside, and our day-to-day rhythms tend to be much more relaxed, sometimes even to the point of feeling like non-existent. Every day feels like a new adventure in the summer. Even if you don't have kids, I have found this to be true. But fall is a very different story. It's naturally more rhythmic. The days are shorter, which, by way of friendly reminder, was a really intentional creation of our God in the very beginning of time. It isn't something to be fought or beat, but rather it's this invitation to slow down and settle in. Much like we look at our homes, we can also look at our lives, our rhythms. Now, fall rhythms tend to line up with what our spring rhythms did. And even if that ends up being the case for you, I feel like when fall starts, it's somewhat of a clean slate, an opportunity to pause and reflect on what you want your fall to look like and to be. So here's the thing. I'm a really big fan of doing things in the right order. I don't know, it has this whole thing to do with efficiency. And the right order here seems to me that we start with what our summertime rhythms are. So here's some things. When are you going to bed? When are you getting up? How are you handling food? Are you cooking, eating out, eating popcorn for supper every night? What's your morning routine? Your evening routine? How many days a week are you consistently home? What activities do you have going on routinely outside of the home? How are you spending your free time? How many hours a week are you working? The answer to those questions make up a good portion of your rhythms. Once you have those answers, The next part is to decide if those rhythms will stay the same as you transition into fall, or if they'll be different. Will your cooking change? How are you spending your free time? Or how many nights are you going to be willing to be gone this fall? Are your morning and evening routines currently being marked by things like later bedtimes than usual? And maybe bedtime is actually going to shift back an hour, which might give you more opportunity for an extra hour of awake time in the morning. I think I've talked about this before, but at the start of our summer, our bedtime got pushed to much later than what I'm used to. But as I said, the calendar hit August and my heart feels fall now. So we have slowly been working our way back to a more reasonable bedtime. We're getting closer and closer to 9 o'clock every night. That's now allowing me the opportunity for getting up a little earlier in the mornings. So early to bed, early to rise during the work week is my normal non-summer rhythm. All right, so defining rhythms can sometimes feel overwhelming. At least for me, I can get bogged down in this idea of the perfect day. And I tend to also take that as far as to say, I would like each day to be the perfect day. But perfection doesn't exist, friend. It doesn't. It's this empty thing to strive for. Because, frankly, especially when it comes to rhythms, what feels perfect today probably won't feel perfect tomorrow. And therefore, as the old saying goes, there really is no such thing as perfection. So here's my encouragement to you. Drop the shackles of perfection and be free. Be free to seek God's direction during this transitional time. Ask Him where He wants you to spend your time. Talk to Him about rest and what that looks like in this fall season. As you continue on the journey of considering your rhythms for autumn, here are some specific things to think about. 1. What matters the most to me in this season? Back in episode 15, we talk about naming the most important things in our goals for the last 1/3 of the year. If you haven't listened, I would encourage you to go back and to do so. Your goal might not be the thing that matters to you the most, and that is okay if they're different. The most important goal you might have written down is reading 5 books. The most important thing to you this fall might be being present with your family. Those two things can coexist. What you're naming here is the most important thing, the arch over this season, if you will. The answer to this question drives nearly all of the rest. So having what matters the most in mind, what is one small thing you can do differently to win on that most important thing? And then what is one thing you're already doing that's getting you close to that most important thing? Where's one area where you're currently spending time that should pivot? And then where's one area that you're currently spending time that should continue? Where's a place where you're feeling constantly stressed? What's something you can do differently, consistently, to fix it? So, for example, if you are constantly rushing around every morning and totally stressed before you even leave the house for work, perhaps a rhythm worth adopting might be getting up a little earlier. If that's true, you might have to change the nighttime rhythm to allow for you to get to bed a little sooner so that you can maintain your 8 hours of sleep. Our rhythms tend to all be connected in some way. You can't really make a change over here without it affecting this thing on the other side. It's good to keep that in mind as you're walking through this exercise. A couple more questions to consider. What is something you're currently doing that makes you incredibly happy or content or filled with peace? And what does that look like in the fall? This might be something you can literally keep doing, like nighttime tea with hubby or Saturday morning coffee with a friend. But this also might be something that has to pivot as the season changes, like sitting outside with your toes in the grass or going boating every weekend. As the weather changes, your ability to do those things will also change. But think about what that activity is that brings you that peace and happiness, and think about a fall transition that will lead to similar results. All right, friends, I hope as you are able to think about all of those things that you can come to a conclusion where you feel good and confident about the transition of fall in your home and in your rhythms. I also hope as we move into this autumn season that your heart and your home find some rest and coziness. Okay, friends, I want to take a second to tell you about something that's been inspiring me this week. At the firm where I work, we have a long-standing tradition of participating in a school supply drive for the local schools in our community. It's a friendly competition between a couple of teams to see who can bring the most school supplies in a couple weeks' time. This year, I got the honor and privilege of being on the sorting and counting committee, and as we were literally working our way through thousands of pieces of pencils and crayons and markers and notebooks and backpacks, I was just so moved by how generous our staff were. And it was so inspiring to me to think that I get to work alongside people who take time and money out of their lives to support our community and do that so well. So that is what has been inspiring me this week. I would encourage you to take a moment and consider what's been inspiring you. As we wrap up our time together, I want to remind you that the Inspiring Heights giveaway is now live. You can sign up for the giveaway in a couple of different ways. First, you go to inspiringheights.org, hover your mouse over the Contact Us link, and select Email Sign Up. This will get you our monthly newsletter, Inspiration for the Moment, which started in July. The other ways that you can get your name in the drawing is by leaving us a review on any platform that you listen to Inspiring Heights and sharing us on your social media. The drawing will take place once the podcast has hit 650 downloads. Friends, thank you so much for being here today. It means the world to us. Hey, you can check us out on Facebook or Instagram at Inspiring Heights. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode. And if you're so inclined, go ahead and leave us a review. This helps for new listeners who haven't heard the podcast to kind of get a feel for what the show is like before they even hit play. If you have friends who aren't yet subscribers, share this with them if this is something you think that would be helpful and encouraging to them. Okay, friends. Until next time, take a deep breath and be inspired where your feet are. Bye for now.